She opened her eyes to a haze of gray morning light filtering through unfamiliar curtains. A dull ache pulsed at the back of her skull, and the taste of metal lingered on her tongue. She blinked slowly, trying to stash away the sense of displacement, of too many missing puzzle pieces. Rolling onto her side, she caught sight of a digital clock on the bedside table. It read 7:12 a.m. The date below glowed with unsettling clarity. She stared at the year 12 months ahead of what she remembered. When she sat up, the pounding in her head intensified, and every nerve in her body seemed to clamor with the same distress call. Something was very wrong. She realized she did not recognize the bed she slept in. The sheets were a crisp, pale blue, but they smelled of antiseptic rather than fabric softener. Across the room, a large wooden dresser was half open, revealing clothes that looked in her size, though she had no memory of buying them. Worst of all was the large mirror on the wall. She was afraid to approach it, terrified that the reflection might not look the way she remembered. Somehow, that unspoken fear kept her pinned to the bed, breath ragged. Her attention drifted to a sleek silver laptop set on a small desk. It glowed with a faint light, as though waiting for her. Summoning her courage, she slipped out of the bed. Her legs wobbled at first, and she had to support herself on the nightstand to stand steady. But once she reached the laptop, an eerie familiarity made her fingers hover over the trackpad. The screen displayed a single prompt: Enter security key. She hit a few random letters, but the invalid entry message blinked back. Frustration nipped at her. She was a neuroscientist after all. She recognized her name, Dr. Elena Brooks, and she was certain she had created this security system given the unique interface, but she could not recall the passcode. In the corner of the room lay a crumpled lab coat with her name stitched onto the breast pocket. She clung to that piece of the puzzle, confirmation of who she was. Gradient memories taunted her. She was a research lead at the Gordon Institute for Neural Research. Her mind soared with glimpses of advanced imaging scans and transcranial devices, little shards of half-formed images that felt like snapshots from a dream. But the last point of reference she could recall was a mundane Thursday evening, exactly 1 year ago, locking up her lab after staying late to analyze data. Now, apparently a year had vanished, stolen by something that she could not name. She tugged on the lab coat, feeling a shaky resolve to uncover what had happened. Maybe she had been in an accident. The throbbing in her head could be a sign of head trauma, but hospitals usually left large paper trails, and for someone as well known in her field as she was, a public record was sure to exist. Perhaps the laptop and her lab's computers would hold the key to the missing year. Determined, she left the bedroom and found herself in a narrow hallway, plain and sparsely decorated. She descended a tight spiral staircase to what looked like a modest living room. She flicked on the overhead light and discovered that none of the pictures on the walls made sense. One photograph showed her in front of towering laboratory machinery, the date on the print only a month old. Another was a group of people she didn't recognize, except for a vague sense that she had worked with them in some capacity. She discovered a set of stacked cardboard boxes along the living room's far wall. They were labeled with thick black marker. Equipment, documentation, testing. Each label sent pulses of dread through her. When she opened the top box, she found thick coiled wires attached to a slim metallic headband. She recognized it as an experimental neuromodulation device, the kind used in cutting-edge neural research to modulate brain activity safely, if used properly. She had glimpsed prototypes before, but this device was more advanced than the lab's official model. She picked it up gingerly, noticing slight modifications, extra electrode contacts, an expanded memory buffer, and a battery that seemed improvised. She set it aside, uncertain. Digging through the box further, she found half-burned papers and sticky notes covered in cryptic scribbles about mind mapping, amygdala override, and experience rewriting. Her breath caught. She remembered writing a proposal for a device that would help treat trauma by selectively blocking or rewriting damaging memories. That proposal had been heavily criticized by the ethics board. Looking at the prototypes in the box, it was clear the project might have proceeded anyway. The next question slammed into her. Had she done this to herself? Fear coiled like a viper in her gut. Why would she voluntarily erase her own memories? The notes offered no immediate answer. They referenced scattered experiments, an advanced closed-loop system, and repeated mention of Memory Script 6.2. Then she saw her own handwriting scrawled in the margin. "This is bigger than me. Must continue." The letters were frantic, as though she'd written them during a surge of adrenaline or panic. She heard footsteps outside, a crisp rap on the door. She froze. The knock sounded again. Every instinct told her not to answer, but adrenaline spurred her across the living room floor. She cracked the door open, revealing a woman in neat business attire. Short black hair, though her bright smile didn't reach her eyes. She introduced herself as Dr. Rebecca Mills, a colleague from the Gordon Institute. Elena rallied her nerve. She had never met this woman, or at least did not remember meeting her. Yet Dr. Mills exuded a familiarity, as though she expected to be let in without question. "Elena, you didn't show up for our meeting this morning," Dr. Mills said, stepping forward uninvited. "Everything all right?" Elena cringed at the mention of a meeting she'd had no awareness of. I don't remember," Elena stammered, stepping aside to let Dr. Mills in. She now wondered if letting her in was a mistake, but it was too late to close the door in her face. "Did we schedule something?" Dr. Mills studied Elena with a frank stare. "We schedule things every day. You insisted on daily briefs after your accident." She took a step closer, dipping her head. "You said it helped if we repeated recent events." Elena felt the color drain from her face. Dr. Mills knew about her memory troubles, probably knew more than Elena did herself. "Accident?" she echoed. Dr. Mills tapped a finger on one of the boxes labeled testing. "We should talk." They moved to the living room. Elena took a seat while Dr. Mills examined her with clinical focus. A thin tension lingered in the air, made worse by Elena's desperation for information. She needed answers, not half-truths. "You suffered a traumatic brain injury 6 months ago," Dr. Mills explained softly. "At least that's what we told the board. The real story is more complicated, and you insisted we keep it confidential until your research was validated." She paused, then spoke more pointedly. "You tested your neural rewriting device on yourself. We think that's the cause of your memory gaps." Elena's heartbeat thundered. "Why on earth would I do that? Why wouldn't I remember any of it?" Dr. Mills hesitated. "You believed in the technology's potential. You wanted to push it beyond conventional parameters. Memory Script 6.2 was supposed to let you record certain experiences, so you could replay them in your mind, or remove them altogether. Initially, you wanted to treat patients with severe PTSD. But then your theories evolved. You talked about controlling emotional responses to certain events, effectively rewriting how your mind perceived them." Elena crossed her arms, feeling strangely exposed in her own living room. "So, did it go wrong?" "There was an incident about a month ago," Dr. Mills said, eyes darting to the scattered equipment. "We think you attempted to purge some data from your brain as a proof of concept, and clearly it succeeded, at least partially. You started forgetting critical aspects of the last year, where you lived, who you'd worked with, your personal relationships. The boards have been pressing for results or an explanation, but there's a lot at stake here, career-wise and ethically. We've kept it secret, hoping you'd recover." Elena felt her fingernails digging crescents into her palms. None of this sounded like her. She was meticulous, cautious, always the one urging for safety validations. Yet here lay incontrovertible evidence that she'd gone behind official channels. Did something become so urgent that she risked everything? "If my memory's this fractured, how was I functioning day to day?" "You left a system of prompts," Dr. Mills replied. "Digital notes, recorded instructions to yourself. Each day you'd reintroduce yourself to your living space, your personal research logs, and your tasks. At the end of the day, you'd experiment again with the device, trying to integrate the newly formed memories. The process was cyclical, but something recently caused a more severe reset. I came to check on you when you missed today's briefing." Elena still felt the pang of disbelief. She rose, rummaging through the boxes. "So I was rewriting my own mind day after day, trying to refine the method." Dr. Mills nodded. "Yes, You suspected you could pioneer a new technique for memory manipulation. But you were also desperate. Desperate for what? Dr. Mills's mouth tightened. You never told me the full reason, only that you believed it could save someone important to you. But you refused to share more. The mention of someone important sent a shockwave of uncertainty through Elena. She didn't recall a spouse or partner in the last year. Was there a personal crisis she was trying to solve? She glanced at the photograph with those unknown colleagues. None of them sparked recognition, let alone affection. Had she kept that reason hidden even from close associates? As Dr. Mills checked her watch, a gesture of impatience, Elena caught a glimpse of her reflection in a nearby mirror. Her face looked hollow, faint dark circles ringing her eyes, a year's worth of unknown stress etched in subtle lines across her brow. She barely recognized herself. I need to see my lab, Elena said finally. I need to see the official research logs. Will you take me there? Dr. Mills nodded, but Elena felt a chill in her presence. Something in Dr. Mills's careful demeanor suggested withheld truths. Yet, right now, she had precious few options. They traveled in tense silence in Dr. Mill's sedan, moving through the city's morning rush. Elena stared out the window, absorbing bits of the world she was sure had changed in a year. The drive brought them to a modern research facility with glass-paneled walls. Inside, the lingering smell of coffee and disinfectant conjured an odd sense of comfort. This was the environment she knew best. But walking to her old lab, she spotted new security installations, updated equipment. Everything seemed subtly altered. When they reached Lab 3B, Elena paused, confronted by a locked door. She swiped her keycard, only to be greeted by a denial beep. Confusion swept over her until Dr. Mills typed in a code on the side panel, unlocking the door. Security's changed, she murmured. We had to update a lot of protocols after your experiment. Inside, the lab was a sterile expanse of white floors and steel countertops. On the far side, advanced neural scanning platforms lined the walls. Elena's own reflection glinted off the metallic surfaces. The device she'd found in her apartment appeared again here, in more complete forms. She recognized a sophisticated hardware array for reading and stimulating neural pathways, along with a series of specialized headsets. Some looked burnt out and broken, as though they had exploded or short-circuited. Her hand shook as she touched a cracked visor. In the corner sat a large metal cabinet labeled Brooks Materials. Dr. Mills tapped a code to unlock it. Inside were folders of data, meticulously labeled with dates that spanned the missing year. Elena's heart jumped. This was the motherlode, her research logs. She grabbed the earliest binder, flipping through typed notes and diagrams. The writing grew more erratic over time, scrawled with exclamation points and warnings in the margins. Destabilization after repeated usage. Ethics board denied further human trials, cannot stop now. Dr. Mills rested a hand on Elena's shoulder. You were falling apart under the pressure, Elena. The board rejected your methods, you were losing funding, but you refused to back down. Eventually, you proposed testing the advanced memory script on yourself to gather evidence. Elena swallowed hard and continued flipping pages. She found references to coded experiments and a repeated mention of CE, sometimes spelled out as consciousness expansion. Words like synaptic bridging and emotional anchor override were underlined in thick pen. Near the back of the binder, there were a few pages that had been ripped out, their edges jagged. She looked at Dr. Mills questioningly. Before Elena could press further, the lab door clicked open and a tall man in a suit strode in. He introduced himself as Mark Blackwood, one of the board's administrative directors. He fixed a stern glare on Elena. Dr. Brooks, we haven't seen you in a week. We need an update on your project. Dr. Mills informed me there's been a complication. Elena tried to appear composed, though she felt as if her entire body was trembling. I lost a year of my memory. I want to know why, or at least have the security footage from this lab. Blackwood's gaze flicked to Dr. Mills. We have certain restrictions on who can view secure footage. However, Dr. Brooks, you do have clearance since you're the project lead. He paused, considering. But I strongly advise you take this carefully. If anything in those recordings confirms wrongdoing, It could lead to severe consequences for you and the Institute. Elena's stomach turned. She nodded curtly. I need to see them. In a small side office with a large computer console, Blackwood accessed archived footage labeled Project Memory Script 6.2 Trials. Elena stared at the monitor, bracing herself as images flickered to life. The footage was dated 5 weeks ago. Staring back at her was a haggard version of herself, pacing the lab at 2:00 a.m. Her hair was disheveled, eyes sunken. She was wearing one of the neural rewriting headsets, hooking herself up to multiple monitoring machines. Dr. Mills was there too, but she looked anxious, as though she were in a battle of conscience. In the video, Elena could be heard instructing Dr. Mills in a tense voice. Increment the amplitude by 20%. We need to reach deeper structures of the hippocampus this time. Her words carried an urgency, the kind bordering on desperation. Dr. Mills complied, and Elena's body jolted in the seat as if she'd been hit by a jolt of electricity. The overhead readout spiked. Then Elena began to speak, describing how she was rewriting specific memories. I will eliminate the recollection of the meeting with the trauma board, the day they said no. This is proof it can handle targeted removal. In response, Dr. Mills demanded that she stop, tried to dissuade her, but Elena in the video insisted. If the combination of Script 6.2 and the bridging device can isolate trauma, imagine what else we can do. We can remove fear, guilt, entire emotional burdens. We can reshape ourselves. Abruptly, the Elena on-screen jerked, eyes rolling back. Dr. Mills rushed to yank off the headset. The feed crackled and the timestamp jumped. When the recording resumed, Elena was slumped in the chair, disoriented. While Dr. Mills tried to help her up, the last recorded words from Elena were faint. Don't tell. Must keep going. For Adrian. I can save him. The feed cut off. Elena blinked in the present, confusion swirling. Who is Adrian? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. A trembling took hold of her. Had she embarked on this dangerous experiment to save someone? Dr. Mills sighed, averting her gaze. He's your brother, but you never told me the details. Elena felt as though the floor had evaporated beneath her feet. She had never recalled having a brother. The family photos from her childhood featured only her parents, both deceased, and no siblings. Could it be something so painful that she'd tried to remove it from her mind? I can't remember him, Elena said numbly. If my memory device was meant to help him, or to block something traumatic about him, maybe that's why I took such extreme measures. I need more answers. Blackwood leaned in. Look, Dr. Brooks, from the board's perspective, this is a catastrophic breach of protocol. We can't allow unsanctioned human trials, let alone on yourself. I need a comprehensive report as soon as possible. The entire future of this project is on the line. As quickly as he arrived, he left, no sympathy in his stance. An administrative crisis overshadowed Elena's personal crisis, which only fueled her desperation. She turned to Dr. Mills. Is there a medical file? Something referencing Adrian? Dr. Mills led her to a locked file cabinet. Inside, Elena found a folder labeled with her name. Within it was a single sheet referencing a man named Adrian Brooks, age 38 with stage 4 brain cancer. A note in her own handwriting read, experimental memory rewriting to manage Adrian's fear and agony. Test new script on him. Must perfect it first on myself. She let the page slip from her fingers. So her older brother was dying, and she had evidently set out to ease his suffering by pushing the boundaries of memory manipulation. The question was whether she'd gone too far. The swirl of guilt, desperation, and heartbreak she must have felt was now only an echo in her mind. And ironically, the memory of her brother might have been among those she erased. She rummaged deeper into the folder. A single photo of a gaunt man with a faint smile was tucked inside. Under it, a letter was pinned. Alyena. I'm so grateful for your help, but this is too much. Please don't risk your life to fix mine. I can't bear you hurting yourself. Signed, with love, Adrian. Her heartbeat thudded. Tears threatened, but they wouldn't come. The emptiness in her chest felt more frightening than sorrow. If she'd severed her emotional connection to the memory, had she lost the ability to mourn? She felt incomplete, hollow. Later that evening, Alina returned to her apartment, ignoring Dr. Mills's repeated offers to help. She had too many pieces of the puzzle left to assemble. She carried the lab data and the improvised device. If she could access her own system, maybe she could reverse the damage. The device was advanced, yes, but not entirely unknown territory to her. She had the knowledge, despite the memory gaps, to attempt some form of reversal. She locked herself in the bedroom, pacing as the laptop glowed, waiting for the correct security key. She tried phrases that felt intuitive. Adrian, memory script, even her name. Nothing. Then she recalled the letter she'd found from her brother. The final words, "I can't bear you hurting yourself." She keyed in, "I can't bear you hurting yourself." The screen unlocked. A short greeting filled the screen. "Alina, if you're reading this, you reset again. This is your failsafe. Download the reversal script. Do not attempt any more experimental procedures until you run it." Passed, Alina. Her heart hammered. With shaking fingers, she clicked on the link labeled Download Reversal Script 1. She began reading the instructions. They detailed a meticulous procedure to connect the headset to the computer, run an advanced scanning cycle, then deliver a series of stimuli in precise order to restore the blocked neural pathways. It came with warnings. Repeated usage of the rewriting device had caused fragile synaptic connections that might collapse under the strain of sudden memory restoration. There was a risk of seizures, or worse. She prepared the equipment, hooking the silver headband to the laptop. She used the cables from the boxes to replicate the exact setup past Alina had described. Fear laced every movement. She didn't fully trust her prior self. But this might be the only way to reclaim her identity, to remember Adrian, to break free from the half-life she was living. She slid the headset onto her skull, feeling the electrodes brush cold against her temple. The computer's screen displayed real-time neural readouts. She initiated the reversal script. A hum vibrated through the device. Alina clenched her fists until her knuckles burned white. A sharp sting lanced along her scalp, then deep into her brain. She gasped. Lights seemed to explode behind her eyelids. Suddenly, images flickered. Her brother in a hospital bed, pale, holding her hand. She saw Dr. Mills urging caution in the lab. She saw nights of desperation, fear standing over the scrapped prototypes, tears on her cheeks. She felt her own voice echo, "I have to do this. I have to save him," repeated like a mantra. The turmoil she had repressed flooded back with terrifying force. She saw her parents' funeral. She saw Adrian's diagnosis. She remembered the doctors telling her there was little they could do. She felt the choke of dread, the love for her brother stark in her. She collapsed forward, tears streaming as fresh waves of memory hammered her consciousness. The guilt was overwhelming. She had known the ethical line she was crossing, but sorrow had driven her to extremes. She coughed out a sob, doubled over, the pain in her head spiking. She was on the floor, the device still humming. Her brain felt molten. The images surged on, from the triumphant initial trial where she managed to remove a small mundane memory about a spilled coffee, to the euphoria of success, to her rash decision to escalate the experiments and prove it could target deeper experiences. Then came the final images. After weeks of pushing her device, she realized she'd begun losing more than intended. Dreams grew fragmented, daily routines slipped away, but trapped by her own hubris and desperation, she refused to stop. She saw herself that fateful night, telling Dr. Mills to increase the amplitude. She saw the blast of light in her mind as the script crashed, and she realized in an instant she might have destroyed a year of her life. A deafening beep on the laptop signaled the end of the procedure. Her entire body trembled with the aftershocks of reclaimed memory. Slowly she reached up and yanked off the headset. Warm tears blurred her vision, but in her heart she finally felt the truth. She remembered Adrian, the reason for this fiasco, and the weight of that decision settled on her like an anchor. She crawled to the laptop, chest heaving, and typed a note to Dr. Mills. I've undone the memory blocks. Everything is coming back. The experiment is over. She slumped against the wall, panting. She had her year back, or most of it. Time would tell how complete the restoration truly was. Her mind felt battered. She wanted to see her brother, even if it meant heartbreak. Her phone lay on the dresser. She reached for it, found his number, and hovered. Would he pick up? Would he even still be alive? Summoning courage, she dialed. Each ring was a punch of anxiety. Then a soft voice answered. Hello? She inhaled shakily. Adrian, it's me, Alalena. Silence. Then a hitch of breath on the other line. Alalena? Oh my God. I didn't think I'd hear from you. Are you okay? She choked back a sob. I'm sorry. I did something reckless, but I remember now. All of it. His voice trembled. Thank you for trying to help me, but you have to take care of yourself. I'm serious. She closed her eyes, tears rolling down her cheek. I know, I promise. We'll figure something out, but no more risking my mind, or losing you entirely. I can't do that again. When the call ended, she set the phone aside. A wave of exhaustion swept over her, but beneath the weariness, a sense of resolution burned bright. She wouldn't hide or run from the consequences of her experiment. The cost had been too high already, and she would have to face the Gordon Institute's wrath, maybe even public condemnation. But at least she would do so standing on her own 2 feet, fully aware of the path she'd walked. Hours later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, golden light saturated the living room. Aliena carefully tucked the device into its case and sealed the boxes. So much remained uncertain. Data could be seized, the board might shut down her research, she could lose her career. But with her memories restored, she felt a fierce clarity. She had learned exactly how precious memory truly was, and how dangerous it could be to tamper with the very essence of who we are. She stepped outside, breathing in the lingering warmth of the evening sky. In her pocket rested Adrian's photograph. Whatever came next, she would face it without illusions. She would not erase her pain to escape it. Instead, she would confront it, accept it, and move forward. Somewhere in the tangled depths of her heart was the old scientist's curiosity, forever yearning to push boundaries. But it would have to meet a new sobered awareness. She would need to respect the power of the human mind, a puzzle both fragile and incalculably vital. One thing was certain: she would never again forget who she was, or what she was willing to sacrifice for the people she loved. And that knowledge, that core piece of her identity, was something no experiment should ever take away again.